If the pleasant sounding music you're currently hearing or the cartoon girl and her cat on screen seem familiar to you, then you've probably taken part in the lo-fi hip hop beats to relax or study to craze that has taken over YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and a variety of other music streaming sites in the past few years. And if so, you're not alone, because many of these lo-fi videos and songs get millions of streams on a regular basis, mainly due to the genre's supposed beneficial effects on cognition and focus. But is that really the case? Does lo-fi music actually help you relax? Does it really improve your productivity and allow for better retention? Well, to put it as simply as I can, yes, lo-fi music actually does help you relax and study more effectively. But why is that? What is it about this specific genre of music that can increase focus and productivity and has allowed its meteoric rise in popularity over the past few years? Unfortunately, that answer isn't quite as simple, and to answer it correctly, we have to go back to the beginning. Lo-fi music has actually been around much longer than most people think. In its original form, lo-fi can even be traced back to early 1950s rock and roll, when the term lo-fi was just used as an abbreviation for the low fidelity of the music's sound quality, mainly due to the makeshift home recording studios that many artists at this time were forced to use to make their own music. The limitations of this amateur equipment are what created many of the key characteristics of lo-fi and began to pave the way for its current success. However, the lo-fi music genre as we know it today didn't really come around until the 2000s, as modern digital audio workspaces began to rise in popularity and accessibility. This new software dissolved the technological gap between professional and amateur musicians and allowed lo-fi music to take on a whole new identity. Artists were no longer held back by the capabilities of their equipment and could now focus on the aesthetics and atmosphere of their songs while still maintaining the characteristics of lo-fi music that made it what it is. So, what are these characteristics that define music as lo-fi? Well, as you can probably guess from its name, the lo-fi genre is pretty heavily dependent on the low fidelity sounds and auditory imperfections that originally made artists dismiss the genre's validity. Things like misplayed notes, degraded or distorted audio signals, background noise, limited frequency response, a lack of a chorus, or the sparse use of any actual lyrics. While these distinctive qualities of lo-fi music may have been born out of the limited accessibility of professional equipment when the genre was first being created, these simplistic beats and phonographic imperfections are actually some of the main reasons why lo-fi can help people to relax or improve their focus. Good work music has generally been thought to include songs that don't inspire feelings that are too positive or too negative, and also feature a slower tempo that should help with relaxation and little to no lyrical content, as songs with lyrics are typically more distracting than those without. For these reasons, classical music has commonly been the go-to work background music for many decades. But musical scholar Estelle Jorgensen states that Western audiences also prefer classical music because they consider it to be smart music due to its complexity. With this perceived intelligence of the genre in mind, it makes sense that people would use it while performing tasks designed to make them smarter or more productive. So, given the fact that lo-fi artists commonly sample from jazz, blues, and classical orchestra styles to compose their songs, and rarely utilize fast tempos or prominent vocals, Jorgensen believes that this perceived label of smart music has also been carried over to the lo-fi genre as well. She claims that when someone hears a lo-fi track, its many layers of production, instruments, and classical samples signify to us that it's smart, potentially causing the listener to feel smarter or that they're accomplishing more than they usually do, regardless of if they're consciously aware of this effect or not. But lo-fi's influence from classical orchestral music isn't the only thing that makes it the perfect music for studying or relaxing. There are a few other key factors as well, the first of which is rhythm. Musicologist Judy Lochhead states that humans often interpret musical rhythm as motion. She goes on to explain that lo-fi hip hop is a bit of a misnomer. Musically, the genre has more in common with R&B and jazz than it does rap, but it does have the classic steady beat that hip hop began with. So we may gravitate toward it as a study aid to drive us toward our goal of finishing our work. However, while a steady rhythm and beat may help us increase our drive toward accomplishing a certain task, it's also believed that the small musical imperfections and flaws that lo-fi got its name from can also help our brains enter a deeper state of mind where it's easier to focus on the task at hand. These slight flaws in audio fidelity can trigger our cerebrum, causing the frontal lobe of the brain to start picking out differences in the sound, which in turn helps the listener themselves get into a more focused mindset. Or more simply, if you're struggling to focus on your work, it may help if you give your brain something to work on alongside of you, such as subconsciously analyzing the music you're currently listening to. Other outside studies have also backed up these claims and confirmed that this type of music can be helpful for both students and adults in the workplace, one of which even found that approximately 86% of its participants saw an increase in their productivity and study habits. Finally, the last beneficial key factor of lo-fi music that I'll be discussing revolves around the genre's ability to set a mood and take advantage of the listener's nostalgia rather than its impact on drive and focus. Listeners often use lo-fi music as an aural cocoon of sorts to tune out distractions, the same way the constant high-frequency hum of vinyl acts as a blanket with all the other sounds in the mix underneath. Because of the constant presence of these audio imperfections, such as the hums or crackles that can be found in many lo-fi songs, musical surprises like a snare hit or a loud guitar riff don't sound as jarring. But there is a more important benefit of this particular factor as well, maybe even the most important of all, which is how the production techniques used within lo-fi recordings, like the inclusion of the aforementioned hums, background noises, or ambient effects like rain, subtly draw on our nostalgia and memories of simpler times. Teresa Lesuick, a director of music therapy, explains, if a person is stressed, they often choose music to help regulate their mood, which then has a positive effect on their cognition. And the strongest way that we respond to music is through the previous associations that we've had with it. The common album art tropes seen in many of these lo-fi videos, like the serene anime loops of children or cartoon animals studying, may hint at people wanting to feel more relaxed or go back to their childhood, going back to before things were so stressful. So if you mix these desired effects together, you may get something like lo-fi. Its slow tempo, lack of words, and especially its dependence on nostalgia can be, for at least a few million listeners, a powerful aid to relaxed work. But that's just what I found in my own research, so I'd love to hear what you think too. So let me know if you listen to lo-fi beats while you're trying to work or study. If so, do you believe it helps with your focus, cognition, or relaxation? And do you agree with any of the theories presented, or do you have an explanation of your own? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you like this type of content and want to see more. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more frequent updates, or to request a topic you'd like us to cover in a future video. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Times New American, and have a fantastic rest of your day.